Hello, listeners. I'm Timstradamus, and with me is my talented and beautiful co-hostess, Voyse.
Good morning, Timstradamus, and welcome to all listeners to the secret room for creative thinkers.
Nice. Voyse and I enjoy reading and talking about stories from the internet that are interesting, funny, and dramatic. Because of our love of stories, we've come together and created this channel to share with you those experiences.
And hopefully give you some food for that.
Well, let's jump right into the stories while I enjoy my morning café brew.
Oh, what are you going to enjoy this morning?
Strawberry lemonade tea.
Delicious. Well, let us get into some refreshing stories, shall we? For any listeners wanting to follow along, all story links are in the description below. Am I the a-hole for suggesting a previous girlfriend's name as a baby name? I, 34 male, and my wife, 31 female, are expecting a child in 12 weeks' time. We don't know the sex of the baby, but we've started thinking about baby names. A couple nights ago, we were suggesting names. I had a girlfriend for around 6 years before meeting my now wife. Unfortunately, she passed away, and I was absolutely devastated. It's still painful to think about, and I always imagined naming a child in her memory. I also just love the name itself, Nancy. When I made the suggestion to my wife, she seemed unimpressed. She told me she didn't really feel comfortable with doing that. She felt it was strange and didn't make sense as Nancy had been my girlfriend. The way I see it is that Nancy was very important to me for a really long time. She was my best friend, and losing her was just a terrible thing. I feel as though it would be a great way to remember and honor a dear friend who I miss every day. My wife doesn't share my views, and honestly, it's caused a lot of issues. I dropped it and said it was important we both agreed on the name, but she's still insisting it's strange, and she doesn't understand why I suggested it. I don't know if she feels insecure or maybe the pregnancy is stressing her, but she just won't drop it. I honestly don't see the issue whatsoever. Am I the a-hole?
You started this episode off with a crazy good story. Oh my goodness.
I told you, refreshing.
Refreshing. This one's a spicy meatball for sure. I understand, we don't need any clarification on this. I understand that the OP, it sounds like, loved his widow girlfriend. How do you say that? Because weren't married, but there was a 6-year relationship.
Correct. I would just name this just as a lost love.
Okay, so he had a lost love, and I'm sure that was very painful. But it is not up to your current wife to have to let you name the child that you two created, not you and your unfortunately lost love's baby. If she feels weird about it, she has every right to feel weird about it. That's not her obligation to name her child or your guys' child that you made together over someone that was in your past. That's just how I feel about it. I think that he definitely is the a-hole for not considering her feelings along this, because imagine having a child and naming it after someone's ex. I'm sorry of the way she passed. It's terrible, but I don't see how he doesn't see the predicament and stress that he's putting on her over something that they should be picking together, that they're making something new for themselves, not something in the past.
Well, all of Reddit does agree, and they say he is the a-hole.
Okay.
In fact, he gave us an update regarding this.
Updates.
He says, I just thought I'd put a quick edit/disclaimer/update here if anyone was interested. It seems like most people have said that I'm wrong in this situation, which is understandable. I think I'll apologize again, and hopefully the situation will end there. It probably was a weird idea, and maybe I wasn't seeing that clearly as I'm still grieving to some extent. I also just wanted to make it clear that myself and Nancy weren't together when she passed. Nancy passed around 2 years after we separated, but we had decided to stay friends. I met my wife around 2 months before Nancy and I separated. I probably should have mentioned that in the original post, but maybe it doesn't make much of a difference. Anyway, thanks for the feedback.
Good guy Reddit. I'm happy that at least he took it and he's resolving the issue.
Well, we started a little bit of an odd relationship. Let's go to some family. Particularly siblings. For our next story, am I the a-hole for not letting my sister believe that she can talk to a bird?
Yes.
My 16 male family has a pet parrot. They are all pretty much obsessed with him, and my younger and older sisters both keep buying him toys, new food, making him new fruit and vegetable mixes to try out, etc. My parents also pay a lot of attention to him and even set up the extra room we have for his cage so he can sleep better at night. He has been with us for a few months now, and my family's obsession still hasn't died down. I've been mostly indifferent since I'm not the biggest fan of animals, and my parents keep him away from my room. Luckily for me, it seems he doesn't like me anyways, so it's even easier to avoid him flying to my shoulder or anything like that. The problem, though, is that today my sister, Emma, 10 female, was talking quietly to that bird. She was holding him and saying things like, "You know I love you, right?" and kissing him on the head while the parrot would just mimic the sound. It went on for a while, and she repeated that enough that it seemed like she was looking for a response, so I told her, "You know he doesn't understand you, right?" After I said that, she just looked at me and made a sour face and ignored me. I didn't want her to actually believe this bird can understand what she was saying, since she watches a lot of Disney movies, so I feel like they would have given her the wrong idea. I gently explained to her that it's just a bird, and that he doesn't understand things like we do. She told me to stop bothering her and ended up leaving the room and told my mom about it. My mom told me she believed it was harmless for my sister to talk to her pet and that the bird reciprocated her feelings. So I told her that this will harm my sister's way of thinking and get her bullied at school. She told me to drop it and not get involved anymore. Am I the a-hole? I think my sister is old enough to understand what I'm saying, and my mom is just too nice.
I guess I don't think we need any clarification. The kid's 16. So his life experience is through a child's eyes at this point. He's trying to look out for his sister, which isn't a bad thing because I'm sure for him, he points it out. He says that, this could lead to her getting bullied if this is how she acts. But she's 10. Let her have her imagination. Let her talk to the freaking bird. Like, I don't know. Cuckoo, gaga, I don't know. Let her talk to the bird. Okay? Because the thing is, I thought parrots, especially just like birds in general, normally they can pick up on our stuff, can they not? Like, I thought parrots are extremely intelligent as far as like the scale is concerned. I could be wrong.
They're actually very smart. They live for a very long time. Like, I'm talking 20 plus years, some as old as 60 years old.
I don't think that her talking to it, let's say for sake of argument, it didn't understand. Okay, let's say she's talking to a rock. Let's say she's talking to a pet rock. Does it really matter? Let her have that imagination because you don't get that for too much longer in life. It forces you to grow up very quickly. So I think he's the a-hole, but again, this has come down to those, it's a kid. I'm not like, destroying him like, you're the a-hole. It's more like, let your sister enjoy her time with the bird.
Well, Olive Reddit also thinks he is an a-hole. So there's actually 2 comments that I think is really funny. First, the comment goes, for all we know, she is a Disney princess, has an animal sidekick. Animal sidekick is a parrot, so quite possibly can talk to her. Has an evil relative, OP the villain. OP's first post, so introduced into the first movie, not the sequel. Main character of the post, parentage unknown. Her parents may be royalty, or she may have to marry into it or perform heroic acts. Her story isn't over yet.
I want to watch this movie. That's a funny one.
The second post, I think, is a little more, of course, realistic. And it says, "You the a-hole. You're jealous of a bird, dude? And yes, that bird absolutely understands your sister. No, not the words, I love you, in the sense that it has an understanding of I or you, but in the sense that it hears those sounds and feels the affection. Seems like the bird understands love better than you."
Ooh, I said, spicy meatball.
Reddit can definitely lay it on thick, that's for sure.
Sure. Well, hopefully he reads these and he can kind of course correct and just let her enjoy it. But I like that movie. Like, that should be the thing.
I definitely
Girl
would
talking
watch
to parrot
it.
Disney princess.
Let's go. So, on to our next story. Am I the a-hole? I didn't attend my son's wedding. I instead spent the evening with his ex-wife.
Where do you find these stories?
Reddit is amazing. Quick backstory. After graduating high school, my son moved 3 states away for college. At 19, He married a girl he met. I tried convincing him to wait because I personally felt he was too immature. They both dropped out and moved back here to his hometown. At 20, they had their first child, a beautiful little girl. 16 months later, my daughter-in-law gave birth to their second child, a little boy. After the first baby, my wife and I noticed our daughter-in-law wasn't happy. We both thought it was postpartum depression related. Just after the second arrived, my son and his wife separated. She would bring the kids over for a visit. It was then she began unloading on us. I know there's two sides to every story, but considering I know my son, I believed her. I sat my son down numerous times to speak with him regarding his marriage. He refused to take responsibility, blamed her for everything, even when I directly pointed out where he was the sole problem. They got into counseling. For a year, things were okay on the surface. Our daughter-in-law filed for divorce. My son, 3 days later, was on Facebook announcing his new girlfriend. A month later, they were engaged. My son had forced his then wife to become a permanent stay-at-home mom at the birth of their first child. She, of course, had no other family or friends here. She knew no one aside from us. She had nowhere to go with 2 small children. Unbeknownst to our son, my wife and I helped her financially and got her an apartment. Before the divorce was even finalized, we received a wedding invitation. I made it clear to my son I would not be attending and they would not have my blessing. His mother told him she would see to it that I would attend. I stayed consistent in my decision. I also asked him not to bring his fiancée around our house out of respect for the mother of his children. The wedding happened on February 11th. The night before, my wife gave me the final push. I did not attend. Our daughter also did not attend for the same reasons. My wife picked up our grandkids, got them dressed, and attended the wedding. My daughter and I decided to spend the evening with his ex. I couldn't imagine her sitting alone while her kids attended their father's wedding. She was taken aback that I didn't end up attending his wedding. We took her out to distract her mind. I just wanted her to know she'll always be considered family to us. My daughter also made a joke. They can drop the in-law status and just be sisters now. She was very tearfully grateful. I realized just how badly she needed our support, and specifically on that night. The next morning, my son called to tell me how much of a horrible father I am for not attending his wedding. A few days later, he caught wind that I spent the wedding night with his ex. He said that was the ultimate form of betrayal, and further, myself and his sister would have to earn a relationship with him on his terms only. Am I the a-hole?
You know what? You almost got a tear out of me because I'm like, oh, wow. That's a really good father-in-law to have stepped in and taken under his wing his daughter-in-law like that, and like embraced her as a member of the family, not just a daughter-in-law. So and the sister, and then you got to the end where the son here is like, you're gonna have to earn my relationship back, and then I sobered quickly back up. So the OP is definitely not the a-hole. I think he's a good guy. Good job for standing by your morals. If you made the decision, stick your foot in the ground and go forward with it. Your son needs to learn some lessons. That's for sure. I'm sorry that he is who he is. Man, that sounds like it's torn your family right down the center, because the OP's wife goes to this wedding and she brings the kids.
Correct.
See, so there's already, I can hear the strife happening. So I'm sure there's not the end of that story. But yeah, I don't believe he's the a-hole. Daughter-in-law is very lucky to have people like that in her life that can see it and support and help.
So all of Reddit also thinks he's not the a-hole. They say that he's absolutely amazing for what he did. They don't understand why the mother went. In fact, we have a small update.
Ooh, move over, Newt.
First, I'd like to sincerely thank each and every one of you for your support, encouragement, and all the awards. I know without a doubt I did the right thing. I even feel differently now. His mother should not have attended either, but we can't go back and undo that. So, my son saw the post. I had sent my daughter the link yesterday so she could read the comments. This morning, she texted me at work, "Dad, you went viral." LOL. But anyways, he sent screenshots of the post and all my comments to his mom. He also told her he's dead to me now. Time will tell if he means that. I'm sure he'll see this update too. For that reason, I'm positively certain the second he needs another cash loan, I won't be dead anymore. His mom told him, Your children have to be our number one priority. They're not just some disposable items you can leave behind when one chapter of your life closes. Maybe one day he'll understand this.
Like I said, he's got some lessons to learn. But wow, that was a wild story.
So we went from one type of relationship. Let's go to another type of relationship. For our next story, am I the a-hole for asking my boyfriend to get rid of gifts from his deceased ex? I, 26 female, have been dating my boyfriend, 28 male, for 6 months now. My boyfriend dated his other girlfriend, Sarah, for 3 years, but she passed away shortly after being diagnosed with leukemia. 3 years passed, and my boyfriend met me. I knew about Sarah before the start of our relationship, and I found it charming when he would talk about her. It made me more drawn to him, seeing how sensitive he can be. Our relationship has been perfect. That is, until I decided to play Minecraft with him and his little brother in my attempt to bond more with the brother. I was exploring their home when I stumbled upon a room with a sign over it that read Sunray Sunshine. It's a vague name. When I asked about the room, my boyfriend said that it used to be Sarah's room. Turns out this whole place was built by Sarah, my boyfriend, and his brother. I began to feel jealous of Sarah. I thought I was making a special memory between me, my boyfriend, and his brother, but it turns out I was just a visitor in their fondest memory of Sarah. I suggested we use the room for other purposes, but he said no, which I thought was odd. Since then, I have become more aware of how much Sarah still lingers in his life. I learned that all of the trinkets / plus on his house and desk were from Sarah. He also still stays in contact with her family and visits them on holidays / birthdays. Whenever his family talks about Sarah, it's always about how perfect she was and that she saved his life. I feel like I am competing with Sarah and that I will never be like Sarah, nor be as loved as Sarah. I decided to bring this up with my boyfriend. I told him how it's unhealthy to hold on to an ex for this long and he should let it go. He got upset and said he has no plans to let go, as he has and always will love her. He went on to list all the good things about Sarah. He met her when he was at a low point in his life. Sarah motivated him to start school, and he pursued a good education and now has a well-paying job because of it. He also explained that even though he will always love her, it wouldn't make him feel any less for me because love is not finite. I told him that this does not reassure me that I'm a priority, and I would feel better if he were to get rid of the gifts from her. That way, I'm not constantly reminded that I'm not her. He got upset and ended the conversation abruptly. No, and if you don't like my room, then don't go in it. Now, I am just constantly reminded of her. She is literally everywhere. It is almost to the point where I fight the urge to roll my eyes whenever she is brought up in the conversation. A part of me feels like I'm in the wrong of asking him to get rid of the gifts, but at the same time, my feelings are valid too. Am I the a-hole?
So, for clarification, she was 26. She is 26. OP's boyfriend is 28.
Correct.
The unfortunately passed away ex-girlfriend's name is Sarah.
Correct.
It sounds like she had met him in a time period in his life where he was kind of on the downswing, and she helped propel him up, right? Got him back into school, so he got a great education from what he said. He ended up getting a great job from that. So she was very impactful for him. And it sounds like the rest of the family also loved Sarah a lot.
And it sounds like he's still in contact with her family.
Yeah, definitely. It sounds like they all mutually, it was just a good fit for everyone. And that's unfortunate that Sarah had passed away. How long have they been together, the OP?
About 6 months.
That's a pretty fresh relationship in my mind. 6 months is still very new. I can understand that why she has the feeling she does. The problem is that you can't walk into a relationship and tell someone else to give up the memories from their life. Regardless if it was from a relationship or not, it's their memories. It's theirs. You don't have a right to tell someone to get rid of things. So in my mind, she's the a-hole.
And Reddit does agree she is the a-hole. In fact, there are 2 commenters that I will go ahead and read out loud that I think puts things into a different perspective.
Okay.
The first one says, "You the a-hole. She's not his ex. She's dead. They never broke up. She died. She will always be a part of his life, and you can be a part of it too, but not in place of her. You need to either accept this or leave. And the second one says, you the a-hole, I married a lovely man whose first wife died. Cancer is the worst. Her family is my family. She will always be part of our family. I have great relationships with her brothers since they are my husband's brother-in-laws. I call them my brothers from another mother. Their marriage ended in tragedy, but the love they shared and the life they lived made my sweet husband the man he is today. The life you live and the people you love and are loved by are the most important building blocks of your life. Your relationship, like mine, is built on foundations you did not set, but allows you to have a person in your life who knows love and loss. I know my guy treasures me. His big heart has all kinds of room in it. It seems to me that your heart needs a lot of room in it.
That was a very nice comment.
I think it helps when we can get the perspective of somebody who's in the same shoes as the poster.
Sure, because I don't know if a lot of people are in those shoes, so that is very insightful.
So that was a little heavy.
Very heavy.
Let us go to something that's a little more lighthearted, shall we? For our next story, am I the a-hole for yelling at my girlfriend to stop f***ing eating?
Oh, yes, please. Give me this.
My male 26 sister, female 23, runs a bakery business, and she's been struggling lately to keep up with orders because she's been short-staffed. She does a lot of orders for wedding cakes that require custard and marmalade fillings, and I offered to help her out by making these fillings at home and bringing them to her so she has less work to do. Unfortunately, for the past 4 times I've made these fillings, my girlfriend, female 24, has literally dipped her fingers into the filling jars and contaminated them because, in her words, she just wanted to try some. I've tried explaining to her that she can't dip her fingers in and contaminate the entire batch, because then I have to remake it. I said she should use a spoon and take some out if she wants to try so bad, but she just pouts and says that she likes using her fingers because it takes her back to her childhood. Today, I was trying to finish some chocolate custard to send over to my sister really fast because she was running late on a wedding cake order for an important client. I told my girlfriend beforehand to not eat the custard, and if she really wanted to please use a spoon. I get out of the shower, and what do I see? She has her fingers in it again. I totally lost it because this is the 5th time she blatantly disregarded what I said, and I yelled at her and told her to stop fucking eating the food I'm making because it's not for her and she's contaminating it. She started crying and got mad at me for fat shaming her, even though I made no comment on her weight. And she has no history of weight issues or eating disorders. I know I was harsh, but she keeps pushing my limit. Am I the a-hole?
Oh, man. All right. I guess I'm going to start with no, you're not the a-hole. It sounds like you're a good brother, though. For sure. You're helping your little sister make her orders and be consistent with her company, especially at the beginning, because it sounds like she just started this company up. So good for you for being a good brother, because there's not too many people that will go out of their way to do that stuff for a sibling. Your girlfriend kind of sounds like she's a manipulator, because going straight to saying something like fat, you're fat shaming me when that was not clearly what was happening at all is kind of a little weird and a little over dramatic. You said it several times. I think you said 5 times.
Correct.
That he's told her not to. That's very dangerous to contaminate food, especially when you're commercially selling it, right? Like, you're not supposed to do that at all. So the girlfriend's risking the license for the sister's business by being basically dumb, bringing me back to childhood. You know what? If you really wanted that, go make your own batter and stick your own finger in that, but don't risk other people's livelihoods just because you're trying to chase some emotion. The boyfriend's definitely in the right for what he did. I don't know. I can't look. If you want to use yelling as a tactic at someone to teach them a lesson, that's on you. I don't personally do it. So maybe the way he handled it might have been a little much in that situation. But yeah, definitely you're not the a-hole.
All of Reddit does agree.
Okay.
They say that he's definitely not the a-hole. In fact, they say that, for one, she is being very malicious and conniving when it comes to trying to, quote unquote, relive her childhood by not listening to him. They say also hiding behind fat shaming is just her way of trying to absolve herself from accountability for her actions, which is a big no-go when it comes to Reddit users. Now, there's a song that was put into the comments that I would like to share.
Okay.
Oompa loompa doompa doo.
What is this?
I have another puzzle for you. Oompa loompa doompa dee. If you are wise, you will listen to me. Why are you sticking your fingers in jars? Have you perhaps left your manners on Mars? This isn't behavior even suited to a child. Are you a raccoon in the wild? You should be an ex-girlfriend. Oompa loompa doompa dee da. If you are sanitary, you will go far. You will live in happiness too. Oompa loompa doompa dee doo.
Wow. Okay.
That's the highest rating comment.
Okay, that wins.
Thank you. Please don't put that on.
I'm going to.
No, I just wanted to give it a try.
Nope, it's happening.
But yes, as you could tell, all of the commenters don't like that she's contaminating when he's trying to do a good thing.
That's the serious part of that situation is you're risking her company because you're being selfish.
So we've gone from some sticky finger thieves. Let us end our last story with a family. For our last story, am I the a-hole for telling my mom that she can stay in my house but not my stepdad or his son's family? My dad died when I was 5 and my mom married my stepdad around 3 years later. He had 2 kids as well, a boy that was 3 years older than me and a daughter that was 2 years younger, and he always treated them better than he treated me. My mom was a stay-at-home mom and never worked. He held the fact that he saved us from poverty over our heads. Things didn't get really bad though until my half-brother was born. He's 8 years younger than me, and I think he was part of the reason why they got married in the first place. When he turned 3, they moved him into my room, and then when he was 6, they, really my stepfather, decided he deserved his own room. So he took my room and I started living out of the living room. I slept on the couch and all of my clothes were stuffed into a coat closet. Any clothes that didn't fit in the tiny closet were donated away. Then when I turned 16, my stepdad demanded I get a job and start paying rent. My older stepbrother was taking a gap year before college and didn't have to do that. The only one that was at all decent was my stepsister, who even begged her dad to let me stay in her room. He refused, which I don't blame him for, because it would definitely be inappropriate for a 17-year-old boy to share a room with a 16-year-old girl. When I graduated from high school, my stepfather told me that he would not be paying for my college. A year before, he had agreed to pay for my stepbrother's college entirely. I was able to get a few scholarships and loans to pay for college, as well as the money I'd saved from working. I had enough for the first year, so I left. I met my now wife in my first year, and she's the only reason I'm where I am today. Her parents are also wonderful, and after our first year, they took me into their own home and then helped me pay for the rest of college. Her dad helped me get my first job and even invested in my business at the beginning.
Wow.
My business has really grown since then, and I've become very wealthy. My stepbrother ended up getting a girl pregnant in his 3rd year of college, dropped out, and now still lives with my stepfather and mom with his now wife and 3 kids. Since I still need to see my mom, my wife and I purchased 2 houses in my hometown. We rent out one and use the other whenever I go visit. Well, the last few years have been really bad for my stepdad. He had to close down his business over COVID, and some other things happened, so they're flat broke now. They need to sell the house to cover their debts. My mom knows about the house I own and asked me if they could move in. I told her that she can, but my stepfather and my stepbrother's family can't. My mom was very upset about this. My stepdad called me a lot of names, but mainly just ungrateful and heartless. My mom thinks I should just agree since it would be hard on my mom to be away from her husband and I'm making my stepbrother and his family homeless. Am I the a-hole?
So it sounds like the stepfather is getting what he deserves. I mean, I say that jokingly, but I do mean that. I don't think the OP is the a-hole in this situation. The mother definitely loves her husband, especially after letting the husband, treat her son the way he had throughout the years. I mean, that was only able to be that way because the mother allowed it, right? Like, because there's certain things that culturally that you set up for yourself inside your home, and if that's one of them that you accepted, then you bred that there. So I don't feel bad for the family. It sounds like there's 1, 2, 3, 4 adults in that house. They shouldn't be going broke and not being able to figure out a living situation with 4 grown adults, right? I'm doing math.
You would think.
So, and I get it. COVID was tough on a lot of people, so I understand that. But 4 adults can pull it together to figure it out financially. He's definitely not the a-hole. I'm sorry that you didn't treat your stepson better as he was growing up, because you probably be in a better situation when you ask him for help now. So that sucks, but that's just the way I feel. He's definitely not the a-hole.
All of Reddit does agree that he is not the a-hole. In fact, our poster actually left a somewhat updated comment and some more clarification. Edit. I'm going to put this here because I've put it in a few comments. The main reason my stepfather has so much debt is because of my stepsister's illness. I also helped pay for her medical costs. She has since passed away, but my stepfather still has a significant debts from those expenses. She was the reason why I got back into regular contact with my family, but I now want to be in my mother's life just to be in her life. A lot of people are blaming my mom, but please put yourself in her shoes for a moment. She was an immigrant woman with no friends or family in a country where she barely even spoke the language. She was working a very low-wage job when they met, and could barely afford to get me food and clothes. She then got pregnant very soon after. Sure, she might have been able to leave him, but it's not as easy as some of you think. I can't blame her when I'm sure she was also being emotionally and financially abused, and she had virtually no power in the relationship. That being said, I'm going to talk to her about her relationship with my stepfather. I'm going to make sure to let her know that I will support her if she wants to divorce him, but I will not agree to any situation where he or his son might be living in a house that I own. Also, some people have spoken ill of my wife for taking their side. My wife is an extremely generous person, and although she personally thinks that I would be right to cut off contact with my family completely, she also thinks that if I am going to remain in contact, then I should make a full-in effort. This includes helping someone in need when I have the capability to do so. My wife always sees the best in people. My wife and I also helped out her mom when my wife's father passed away. Unfortunately, cancer has been a massive curse on the people that matter most to me. My wife and I provide for her mother completely, so she thinks that we owe the same to my mother as well. Part of the reason why I was questioning whether what I was doing was wrong was because of what my stepfather said regarding my stepsister. He said the point that she would have been disappointed that I wasn't helping family. My sister, like my wife, was extremely generous. She would do volunteer work even when she was barely strong enough to stand on her own. Family was extremely important to her. After he said that, it really made me think I was doing the wrong thing, especially since he's right that I would be making life very hard for my stepbrother's kids who didn't do anything wrong. My stepsister really loved those kids, so I feel like I should care for them in her memory, but I just can't get over how terrible my stepbrother treated me. The response to this post has really helped me stand firm in my decision because I was definitely wavering.
Wow. Well, that update gave a lot more detail on what's been happening. I didn't realize that the debt was because of health and the sister who had passed away. I just thought it was because of COVID and they were struggling with the business, but that's very sad. I'm sorry to hear that. And him going into detail about where his mother was being an immigrant, and it does paint the picture as to why certain things were the way they were. It sounds like it was never in her control to help her son, and it was just something she dealt with.
The nice part is it seems like he's trying to do right by her and give her a way out of a very toxic relationship.
I'm sure that hasn't been easy for her, and hopefully he and his mother can come to some type of understanding for her in her future. Yeah, just stay by your morals. Don't let other people sway you. You're doing the right thing.
Yes. A lot of Reddit says he stood by and dealt with a lot of abuse, both him and his mother. And he's very fortunate to have come out on top of all of that and to be very successful, to be able to take care of his wife, be able to have the capability to take care of his mother, and to be able to take care of his wife's mother.
Yeah. He's paying it forward.
So he by far is being a very generous person, but being a very generous person doesn't mean that somebody needs to abuse and use that generosity.
Sure.
And
you don't
a lot of Reddit believes that's exactly what his stepfather and his stepbrother would potentially be doing.
Oh, for sure. That was a very good story.
It gives a lot to think about, that's for sure.
Definitely. Well, as our stories come to a close, don't forget, you see in the world what you carry in your heart.
If you have enjoyed listening to us read and talk about today's stories, please rate, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We will be regularly posting on Tuesdays and Fridays.
We would love to hear which story was your favorite in the comments below. And remember, if you post it, maybe we'll see it on the internet.